Hello, and welcome back to What We Pod in the Shadows, where we are currently discussing Season 4 of What We Do in the Shadows. I'm Raven.
And I'm Alison.
This week's episode we are going to be discussing is the Season 4 premiere called Reunited. But before we get into discussing the episode, just a reminder to follow/subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, and to leave us a comment or a review. It would really help us to get out there to more folks and get us more listeners. And, if you have a friend you think might enjoy the podcast or the show, maybe send them our way.
And also don't forget to check out our other podcast, Mojo Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, where we are alternating between discussing seasons of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and the classic Powerpuff Girls. And we've just started up part 2 of season 2.
Yeah, the second half of Stardust Crusaders.
Okay. Yes. So we've just started that back up. So if you enjoy this podcast, you can check us out over there where we're discussing some animated shows.
Yeah. Sometimes we even talk about vampires over there too.
Okay, so this episode is Reunited. So it kind of starts outside the vampire residence. It appears to be falling apart with packages uncollected on the porch. Laszlo is snuggled on the couch with a toddler-sized Colin watching a home renovation show. He calls Colin boy and says he is lively and not at all boring. Colin has helped with home repairs, and Laszlo taught him fencing in the hopes of him growing up interesting. The doorbell rings, and it's doll Nadja and Nadja. Laszlo reveals they have a gas leak he hasn't had fixed. Nadja says she gave up her place in the Vampiric Worldwide Council because she missed Laszlo. She slaps him because he shipped her off to England without him, and then mistakes Colin for a raccoon.
Laszlo tries to lead Nadja upstairs, but then Nandor arrives home from his travels as well. Nandor slips and falls through the floor into the water below, where he says he smells a gas leak. Nandor's bus broke down in Fresno, and he ended up traveling with a family from Wisconsin for a while before draining them. Nandor then became homesick for Alcanadar and boarded a cargo ship, which ended up getting stuck in the Suez Canal. Laszlo has done a shit ton of experiments on baby Colin and has determined that he won't grow up to be as boring as the original Colin Robinson.
I don't know if I believe that. I feel like he's become boring because it's just like out of habit.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think he knows a lot about a lot of stuff, but it's just all the tedious details that put people to sleep.
Yes.
When he was with the family from Wisconsin, were they were like stopping at all them goofy places, right?
Yeah, I think there was one, it was like a big ass traffic cone or something. I feel like that was...
I was thinking it was like the big ball of yarn or...
Yeah, stuff like that.
I can't remember specifically what they were.
Yeah, all the silly tourist trap type shit.
And then the container ship blocked the Suez Canal because he pretty much killed everyone on board, so it just stopped. It stopped moving.
Yeah.
Nadja and Laszlo fall through the floor. Nandor says he misses Guillermo because he always kept the house in good shape. So then Nadja and Laszlo act like they don't recognize his name. Laszlo says he took a sledgehammer to several walls because he thought the pipes were bad. Turns out it was Guillermo in a crate banging to be let out for a week. Guillermo says they are dead to him and then falls through the floor, and Nandor dives and saves him, which was kind of adorable. Guillermo says he's had a lot of time to think about things and he needs to look out for himself. Nandor says he needs Guillermo to stay to be his best man, although Nandor currently doesn't have a bride to be.
Yeah, he wants Guillermo to help him pick out a spouse, basically. Baby Colin runs through the room where Guillermo and Nandor are discussing things, and Guillermo is horrified to see Baby Colin running around with a lit candle on his head. Laszlo says he likes to play in the sewage in the basement. Guillermo is worried for Baby Colin being raised by the vampires and decides between that and his best man duties to stay.
I think he was feeding baby Colin Robinson, possibly. I think it was Count Chocula cereal. It was like in a pan on the floor, like he was a dog.
I did remember the cereal. I didn't remember that it was on a dog dish.
So Guillermo puts up a baby gate and starts repairing the house, like covering that hole in the floor. Guillermo is refusing to talk to Nadja and Laszlo, so Nandor tells them they need to repair the house. Nadja says that takes money. Colin has been in charge of paying the bills, and now he is dead. They do have his debit card, but not his password. Guillermo starts asking the baby Colin for the password, but he just lists off a long string of numbers.
To me, though, it did seem on brand for Colin to just have, like, the longest password ever, though. So it would be funny to me if it actually was the correct password.
Probably not, but
yeah, usually for just
sure there's like a limit
numbers for stuff. It's usually like on like 4 to 6 numbers.
Yeah, it probably would. Sometimes, like, okay, I don't know. Like, you can use your debit card and you don't have to put the PIN. Like, you can use it as a credit card.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe they didn't realize that. I would think Guillermo might, but I don't know that they necessarily need the PIN number. I don't know.
To make money for the repairs, Nadja decides that, inspired by the movie Blade, they should open a vampire nightclub. Nadja was stuck on a 10-year planning committee at the Worldwide Vampiric Council, which she found to be incredibly boring. During a meeting, she tried to pitch a vampire nightclub to the council members, but they were like, every new vampire tries to do that, and that's not really what we do here. And so she quit. Guillermo asks Nandor about returning to Alcomdor, and Nandor says it was not a pleasant trip because now everyone in his village is a vampire now too. Nandor says he hated it because if everyone is a vampire now, then what's so special about being a vampire? The Vamps and Guillermo return to the Regional Vampiric Council, where the guide has sat still for a year waiting for them to return. And then Nadja reveals to the guide she wants to open her nightclub right there in the Vampiric Council HQ.
I mean, they do need a source of income. I just doubt them planning something successfully. Like, I mean, even like the parties at their house, it's kind of hit or miss, like whether the other vampires enjoy it or even want to come.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm like, do they even know what is like currently like cool and trendy for the other vampires?
They don't really hang out with other vampires very much.
Mm-mm.
But I guess this would be a way to hang out with other vampires. They need to get some talent.
Yeah.
Some singers and performers. And not Nadja and Laszlo performing. So when they were trying to come up with ways to make money, Nandor suggested robbing Fort Knox and then also Henry Ford. He was like, I need a really long rope. And then for Henry Ford, he needed a rope, but it didn't need to be that long. I can understand, like, her not finding her role at the Worldwide Vampiric Council very exciting, but maybe it's one of those deals where, like, you gotta sit through that, and then they give you, like, a better position.
Yeah. She's too impatient to rise up to the ranks. I'm once again angry on Guillermo's behalf that he was forced to be shipped across the ocean in fucking coffin for the second time.
Yes. Like, if he's nailed inside, he can't get out to help Nadja. So they should have just let him fly or, like, be a normal passenger.
Yes.
But it didn't make sense.
They're like, have some Oreos and some Pedialyte. You'll be good.
At least they kind of...
He's never gonna fucking want to eat Oreos again.
They kind of knew that instead of, like, the raw chicken.
And give him scurvy.
Yeah. I mean, not super nutritional, but at least it was, like, electrolytes. And then the guide, like, So they decided to go have their adventure. It seems like there should have been other vampires, like, at least temporarily put in their place.
Since that it was like everyone's gone for a year except for Laszlo.
Yeah, and he didn't want to have anything to do with it. So, I mean, technically he wasn't really part. He was supposed to be, but he wasn't. So the two leaders of it left the effing country. So, yeah, I feel like she should have put out like a thing and like they came back and like Simon the Devious is one of them or something. Or they brought in, was her name Jan? Or they brought in Jan.
Yeah. Simon only wants to join the Vampire Council as a plot to get Laszlo's stupid witch's skin.
I'm not sure how the house got in such horrible repair.
Yes. It went from like the Addams Family house to like a haunted mansion they would go to in Scooby-Doo.
Like, why don't they know how to pick up after themselves? I don't understand.
I don't know either.
I mean, I guess I sort of understand it not being like super important to them, but then also they complain about it when it falls apart. So it does seem to be kind of important to them. I don't know.
Like, do you guys not need shelter from the sun?
And then that one time, I forget what the occasion was. Guillermo was away, and their clothes weren't washed. So what happened with Laszlo's clothes? Because they end up having Colin do it, but Colin's a toddler.
Yeah.
And then Colin had clothes that fit him, so he was able to acquire children's clothing somehow, unless he just went out and stole it. But
he may have. Yeah, I might have been shoplifted or something. But like, you will not remember all these kids' clothes I ran out of Walmart Swift.
Could have just did that with his clothes too, although they tend towards the old-fashioned dry clean only type of clothing. But
yeah.
And then I think they did show maybe Guillermo taking care of a body, but I'm sure Laszlo had multiple bodies, so I hope he took care of that.
Yeah.
And then he was supposed to turn Guillermo into a vampire, and it's like they're not even talking about that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't his fault he got tricked.
No.
Though I feel like he should have been indignant at the first time and just left.
Yeah.
Because Nadja can take care of herself. He may not have had money to come home. I don't know.
It's kind of like the way in which Laszlo is such a slob, especially. I'm like, they're lucky that like the house didn't like implode on itself like at the end of Poltergeist.
No. I'm just not understanding like the hole in the floor and everything unless he was just being, doing stuff and using too much of his strength or whatever, or like jumping up and down or something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Why there was like there was a gas leak, but then there was sewage in the basement. So like, that's like two different things. I don't know what the hell they've done. I guess I don't. I do remember them having a nightclub. It's a pretty big part of this season.
Yeah.
But I guess I didn't remember that they kind of redid the Vampire Council headquarters. Or that's what I'm assuming that they're doing.
Yeah. I didn't remember that aspect either.
I'm hoping there's just a room there or like a stage area because I mean there's a library and there's like that, the room with all the artifacts. So I'm hoping that they leave that alone because that's almost like a museum for them.
Absolutely. Like, what if we basically destroyed all this vampire knowledge and history?
Yeah, I mean, Nadja did use her scary voice because not everyone was like super on board with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everyone else doesn't necessarily think it's a good idea. I'm betting the guide is not going to think it's a good idea. So the next episode is called The Lamp. If you guys want to check that out before the next episode.
Yeah, I don't want us to spoil that for you. Just again, if you could hit all those buttons for us, that would be super great. We would love to get more feedback. And if you leave a review, we might even read it on the podcast. So until next time, remember, you're dead and out of this world. Goodbye.
Goodbye.